What's up, guys? Today we are going to talk about Litecoin, we're going to talk about Pulsechain, and we're going to talk about Telos. So with Litecoin, I've been saying this for a bit, sell the rips. Look at the volumes and compare that to what happened in 2019. The volumes are way lower. The whole narrative, obviously it played out. I've been talking about the Litecoin narrative in the halving event, which will be coming up in August. I've been talking about that for a year, that was something we should look out for. Basically, June of 2022, I was saying, the next thing to look out for is Litecoin and stacking Litecoin leading into the halving for 2023. I've been over it quite a bit, and oftentimes it got repetitive because there wasn't a lot of other things to talk about. But hopefully you guys were able to catch a ride with that. I just think that a lot of times when there's a news event, you got to really kind of feather out of it a month and a half prior to that. Hopefully you're early to the party and you're able to reap some of those rewards, and hopefully you bought around 50 or 60 bucks and maybe even caught some of these upper channels that got close to 100. Right now today it was around 96. So I just think that's narratives played out, because even when they ran a CoinDesk article about the halving that day, I mean, it spiked a little bit, it went up a little bit, but it really did not go up that much. So that being said, sell the rips. I'm not saying sell out of all of it. You can do what you want, but I think that's pretty much played out, and then you can restack your position when it comes back down in Q3 and Q4 of this year, and then prepare for the next bull run, or go into Bitcoin and then basically kind of try to ride that up, or try to ride some of these other plays or something else like that. I just think you're going to get you're going to have an opportunity to stack more Litecoins in the future. I'm bullish on Litecoin. I like Litecoin, and I honestly thought that it would do a little bit better leading up to the halving, but again, this is the first time crypto's been through a recession, so that could be playing into it. But I felt like with Dogecoin having a higher market cap than it had last bear market, and with Dogecoin being merge mined with Litecoin, that there would be a better chance for it to hold up a little bit more. That being said, my advice, again, sell the rips. Moving on to Pulsechain. So PulseX, the exchange that's out there, the main exchange, there was an issue with the liquidity pools. Basically, liquidity providers weren't getting paid the fees. Those coins were getting burned. And I keep waiting for this version 2 to come out. They put an extra tab where you can go to V2, but the farms aren't there. They don't have the liquidity pool set up to where you can start farming. That being said, I do think this is an interesting proposition, that hex prices have crashed so much. It's went down to pretty much a penny and a half, and Pulse price got close to its sacrifice price. Its sacrifice price that people sacrificed into it, from my understanding, is 0.0001 cents. So that being said, as someone else coming in from the outside, you have a chance to get these coins at close to the sacrifice price that people sacrificed a year and a half, 2 years ago, whenever it was, and you didn't have to kind of go through the mental anguish of that and get flexed on by Richard the whole time, when he was on Instagram and everything. He's kind of stopped his flexing. It's kind of interesting, but Pulsechain is out, and overall, I'm going to say this: I'm not that impressed with Pulsechain overall, but the full-blooded Hexicans, they're going to come hard. There's a lot of activities going to be happening. I'm seeing a lot of stuff popping up, and I think it is going to drive demand to Pulse. Now, the tough thing to get on these things, you know, on these different chains is actually having enough pulse to, you know, when you bridge to actually do anything when you get over there. What I ended up having to do, and you're going to have to just look at the markets. There's an exchange that I'd never really kind of heard of before, but I ended up having to use that to get a little bit of pulse over there. And I was looking around for a faucet to get some free pulse and stuff like that. Didn't really find it. Your best way in is some of those exchanges, and they don't require KYC, it didn't seem. So, or at least the lesser known. It was like, I can't remember, it was like Trade Range or something like that. Now, that being said, why am I not that impressed with Pulsechain overall? I think there's an opportunity there. I think it's one of the best opportunities right now as liquidity spills in and people figure out and that ecosystem builds out. You know, and it's hard to say how long this lasts. People that jumped in at first, they might not have benefited from it as much, you know, basically because Pulse prices have collapsed down to about half or a third of what they were trading at when it kind of peaked up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens kind of the next few months and stuff with that. That being said, you could put some stuff in there and let it eat. One of the pools that's kind of interesting to me is the Hex and Pulse liquidity pool, because if the prices have collapsed on those so much, you could have some money turning over there, and then it could be close to its floor, but who knows? You know, in crypto, if something's at a penny, it can go to a half penny. If it's at a half penny, it can go to a fourth of a penny. If it's at a fourth of a penny, it can go to half of that. So anyway, that being said, but the reason I'm not that impressed with it is because they sped up the blocks a little bit, you know, 10 seconds versus 12 seconds on Ethereum, and it's, I guess, 17% faster than Ethereum, or 17% faster than Ethereum. The fees seem to be kind of lowish, but again, compared to Telos, which I'd mentioned Telos before, and the big news with Telos that I wanted to mention is they signed a deal with GameStop. GameStop is building some sort of gaming platform on Telos. Now, Telos is on the third page of coin market cap, and Telos only has about 77 million market cap compared to EOS's $1 billion market cap at number about 46th or 47th, you know, down the list as far as market caps. So it's very, Telos is clear on the third page. It's sitting around 330 or so, and it has went up quite a bit from, you know, basically about 15 cents or something, and maybe the last 30 or 90 days, clear up to 22, 23, even like kind of peaked up at 25 cents. Today it was like at 22 cents. I think it can be a long-term play. The ecosystem has to be built out more, but as far as all the EVMs, the Ethereum virtual machines, Telos is the fastest. It really has the best setup. Do about 15,000 transactions a second. It has those half-second block times, because if you remember, it is a fork of EOS, of the EOS.io software, and you know, Block One really dropped the ball, and they never really got the EVM out there for EOS. Telos, you know, beat them to it, but it was a fork of EOS, and so you can run that native C++ dApps that were built for the EOS.io software, and you have the Ethereum virtual machine side, the EVM side. So all the Solidity code can run over there, but a lot of people haven't ported a lot of projects over there. You know, ApeSwap's on there. There's a social media app called Apix that, if you remember, Sir Winchester and Miss Steemit and Soldier and that crew that was originally on Steemit, they created this Apix app that's over on Telos. And there's a few other things. There is a you know, a lending platform that I was on called Omnidex, and this was good for a while, and then I kind of snaked my way back out of it And when I say that, I just kind of interwove some Ethereum in there because they were paying like 14% extra for, 14% extra in wrapped Telos. So I was gaining a lot of wrapped Telos over there. But that being said, all that being said, at the end of the day, I got out of there, and then there was some issue that happened with multi-chain or something like that. And so OmniDex right now is like messed up. You can't post collateral, and you can't kind of take loans. It's like whoever had their money in there before, it's kind of paused. The contract's paused or something. So I don't know what's going on with that, but that being said, the whole ecosystem just needed to build out more, and it'll be interesting what GameStop comes out with, but I don't know when that's going to come out. But my feeling with Telos, to kind of sum that whole Telos story up, whenever I would look at developing something or some sort of project on any of these chains, I always it would be aggravating. Like kind of, for instance, let's just think about Sandbox over on Ethereum, or Decentraland. They say, well, there's going to be this metaverse on Ethereum. It's like, get out of here. It isn't fast enough. It's not going to be able to hold. It's not going to be able to hold capacity, and that's why I was attracted to EOS and the premise that EOS.io software. And then they really just kind of dropped the ball, but it had so much potential. Just unfortunate the way the whole thing was botched, and everything that Block One did, kind of to the community and everything. So. And if you're kind of new to this, basically what they did, they basically just kind of raised like $4 billion and then just bought Bitcoin with it essentially for themselves. That's really what sums it up. I mean, they did do some stuff and develop it a little bit, but it was negligible compared to really kind of the promise and what they could have done with this thing. That being said, the Telos Foundation and people surrounding Telos, they kept working, and impressed, and respect for that. That being said, there's still a ways to go, and with something's on the third page of CoinMarketCap, it is very tough to come back from that and make kind of this stratospheric rise, kind of back to the forefront and maybe back to the top 100. That being said, it's not impossible, can be done, and at the end of the day, it is something to check into, and see if that's an opportunity for you guys to invest and keep an eye out on it and everything else like that. But anyway, guys, that kind of sums it up with Litecoin, my thoughts on that, my update kind of on Pulse, and the Telos situation. So anyway, guys, are you guys buying any of those, or are you guys selling Litecoin? What's kind of your play? What else are you guys seeing out there? Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, at Twitter, Hive. Subscribe.